Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Viraj and today we guys are going to discuss config parser in a Python. Config parser is one of the module in a Python which help us to read and write a configuration files. These files contain a mainly credential or any specific information that we don't want it to hard code in a Python code. So typically these files are having an extension ini. So config.ini is a typical file. We can create a one or a multiple configuration files in a one project. So why I'm saying this? There might be chances that your project is not only for a development purpose, it is for a production and a QA where the people are going to test it and where the client is going to use it. All the databases, all the email or all the credentials are not going to be same as like a develop environment. So for a development environment, the credential will be different, and for a production and a QA environment will be the different. So we might have a different config files or we will have a different section. Then what is a section? Section is a one block where we have a key value pair. So we can have a one section or a multiple section like development and production. So these are the two sections we can have it, and there might be multiple key value pair. If I wanted to define any section, then we can use an opening closing square bracket. For defining a key value pair, we need to use a separator equal to or a colon. So this is the one of the example or like how we can define a config ini. So here we are having a two different section. One is a dev and second one is a production. Both are having a username and password. So username and passwords are nothing but the key and value pair. So username, password will be the key in a development and production environment, and admin and admin 123 Viraj with @j @123 are a value. So there are two different sections. So guys, this will give a clear idea like in which environment which password is going to work. Typically we have a different files or a different section. More specifically, we store the password in a session or in an environment. So environment variable. So we don't store a password in a config ini, but as of today's session, we are storing into the ini file. Then this is one of the program where we are reading a config ini file using a Python module config parser. On a first line, we need to import config parser. On a next line, we are creating object of a config parser itself. So config is nothing but the object of config parser. Then we are reading a file config ini. Then config opening closing square bracket dev. Dev is nothing but the section, and after that we are passing a key name which is a user name. It will return a Viraj. On a next line, similarly, we are config dev password. It will return a admin @123. So on a development environment, it will be the admin username, and for a production, for password will be. So let's see the practical implementation of a config parser module. So we are going to do two things. One is a create config ini file, and second one is read a config ini file using config parser module. So these are the two things that we will do. Let's create a file, new text file config ini. Let's create a section dev and prod, username equal to admin, password equal to admin @123, username equal to Viraj, password equal to @123. Let's save this file, import config parser. Let's create an object of a config parser. Config equal to config parser dot config parser. Then we need to use config dot read. So read method is actually reading a file config ini. We can see that the output config ini. So if we are getting this output, that means that the file is available and we are able to read it. If we are getting empty, that means the file is not existing or there is some issue. Even we can use the exception handling over here. Config.sections. So this will print the available sections, dev and prod. So we can see the dev and prod. Config, opening, closing, dev, and we can use a username. This will print admin. Similarly, dev, password, we can see the password as well. Config, prod, username. We need to pass this thing in a single quote or double quote. Config, prod, password, and we can see the password as well. This is how we can read a specific section and we can print it. If I wanted to read both the section and print the data, we can do simply for section in config.sections print username is and password is. Config section username, and here only we need to replace password. So this is how we can print it for a development as well as in a production environment. Even though if we wanted to print it like which environment it is, so we can say that section is, and we can actually print a section as well. We can see the prod or dev. So this is how we can read the config.ini file using a Python module Configparser. That's it for this video, guys. See you in the next.